Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me for my session on user adoption. Now, I want to take a moment quickly, and I need your help to settle myself down before I start my presentation. And I really like the look of the prizes up for grabs for the hashtag Showtime. So I'm going to take a selfie, and you guys have got to look like you're having a whale of a time. This won't do, as you are now. So I'll turn around, I'll take a selfie, and just look like this is the best session of the day, and you're really having fun. So help me out. Bit more. That worked. Thank you so much. Okay. Who in the room has heard of Neopost? Put your hands in the air. Less than a handful. Okay, so selflessly, I'll take an opportunity at the very beginning to plug who we are, because it really sets up the journey we're on and why Showpad is playing such a significant part in that journey. So this is who we are. As you can see, founded in the 1920s, we're a global organization, and I'll come on to that a bit later as to how some of the innovations we've seen today, I think, will help us in the future. But our history is in physical mail, an industry that many people were sitting there thinking is dying out. People don't send letters as much as they used to. So as you can see on screen, mail is in decline, but other areas of communication are on the incline. So parcels and packages is growing. Companies like eBay and Amazon are contributing to that. And digital communications is changing. A couple of people have already talked today about the way we communicate with our customers is very different. Some people want their invoices, their bills, to come to them in the post. That might be a generation thing. Others want it on their smartphone, or even nowadays, you can get communication on your watch. So things are changing, and we've had to change as an organization. Our selling culture, as you can see on screen, was very much brochures, laptops, traditional hardware selling, which I'm sure some of you can relate to. Let me go back. So our history with Showpad looks a little something like this. We have 120 licenses in the UK, and we also use Showpad in Belgium. We started around June last year with a small rollout of 2 sales teams. And I'll talk to you about how that formed part of our user adoption as we move forward. We initiated a full rollout in the UK to 120 users in February this year. And our journey at the moment is we upgraded to experiences only last month, so we're very, very early days in that. We have 1 channel, and we're beginning to develop that platform, which I'll, again, talk about later on. So what are my 7 habits to user adoption? I'm going to take you through them one at a time. The first of which, and it came up in the session before, is relevance. Why are you doing it? What does it mean to me as a salesperson? What does it mean to our organization? I was the guy at the front who kind of had his hand up when they said, does everybody know why you're doing it in your business? Is everybody on board? Because I think we are, and it's the relevance piece that's made that work. It's because it ties in with our strategy, and it was mentioned earlier that we're undergoing the most significant change in our near 100-year history, and we are. And our strategy looks a little bit like this: transform and grow. We are having to transform, and this is how our business is doing it. We need to keep mail relevant as an organization. In our industry, if everybody globally stopped sending letters, that would be bad news. Okay? So we need to keep it relevant. It's a big part of what we do. But in turn, we need to drive new growth into communicating in different ways. This is our transform and grow strategy, and this is where we focus and where Showpad is helping us. So with a new strategy comes a new sales approach, and it looks a little something like this. And this, again, for any of you who are going through change, may well be familiar. On the left-hand side, you'll see how we operated in the last decade or so. Traditional selling, standard account management, fairly short transactional selling cycles with a limited buying center, an office manager, a finance director, maybe. But today, where we're moving forward, the buying center, every time I see a statistic on how many people are involved in a buying decision, it seems to go up. You're feeling that, right? 6.8 or something we saw this morning. I'm sure it's 4.5 a couple of months ago. So that's constantly changing and evolving. More people are interested in what you can provide as far as value goes. And this is where Showpad is really helping us with complex buying centers and different customer options available. Our solution portfolio has expanded significantly. So that's the first thing, is relevance. It's utterly relevant to how we are changing as an organization, and that's how it was pitched. And how it was pitched to our sales organization was in the form of a big bang, and that's step number 2 on our 7 habits, was big bang for us. So as you can see, I clearly like doing stuff like this as it comes up, getting up on stage. So we launched Showpad at our national sales conference in February this year as a big bang. It wasn't, by the way, guys, we've got this new cool app that we think you might like to use. It was, this is how we're going to do things now. This is how we're changing. Come with us on the journey because the value you'll get is significant. And we made it look cool. So I was on stage, we had the iPad, Apple TV. If any of you have ever done that, I would recommend it. It's very cool. So having that on stage and flicking through, people are impressed. Okay, take it from me. So go with that. And at our national sales conference, over 300 people in attendance from all areas of the business, which is why I felt we had buy-in from different parts of the organization. Training knew that they needed to train people differently because of the way we were selling. Marketing and sales were obviously involved, and we had instant impact. We gave out around 100 iPads on the day. People like that sort of thing. That was cool. And we set them up with Showpad on the day. And I think I can see her in the room at the back there. Amnesty, our success coach, and Neil came along and helped us enable Showpad to a certain level, very basics, on the day so people could go away feeling pumped that we'd invested in them with the technology, with the platform, and they kind of knew how to use it. We then underwent a training program over the coming weeks where we went to the local offices and trained people in more detail as to how to use Showpad. But the big bang was significant. Our next step is partnership. When I talk through this, some of you will be familiar with why I call this a partnership and how it makes sense. Others will probably be familiar with some of the challenges that this represents. Who's seen this slide before? Showpad used it quite a lot. Yeah. I told Graham that he'd be on screen, and here he is. This is typical. Marketing, throwing stuff over a wall and hoping it works. Now, being in marketing, it hurts when they throw it back, right? And the rocks come back if the content's not great or you haven't listened to them or it's not useful. So that's the old world, and we are now operating in a new world at Neopost of collaboration and partnership, and it looks a little something like this. So we've got sales and marketing, obviously still separate entities, but we work together. And this just is a little snapshot. This is why we're doing this, that comment on there. If we're launching something new onto Showpad, we tell them why it's relevant, why we think they should use it, and how it will help them ultimately earn more money, right? That's what they're there for. So we're going to empower you to earn more money. What do you need? The feedback loop that we're starting to get at the moment is significant, where we reach out with open arms and say, guys, you see customers more than we do. Tell us what they want. How can you better convey our solution portfolio to your customers? How can we help you? Yeah, and that open arm approach is significant for us. And then it comes back the other way from sales. What you just gave me, Lee, was fantastic. It would be even better if, is a lot of the feedback we get. Love it, but could you change that? And the power of Showpad means we can go away, make those changes, react, and the collaboration works. Can you get more of this, please? We really like this video, but you don't have a video like that for this product. That would be really cool. That would help me explain it. So we have transparency, we have visibility, and we have collaboration. That's our partnership technique. Okay. Next up is kudos, or credibility. I feel like the session you saw before coffee break that we maybe worked on some of the stuff together. I can assure you we haven't. The two presentations were built totally in isolation, but a lot of the techniques that the guys talked about before you went for coffee, we use and we deploy, and what I hope in this session is it shows you how some of them can come to life with some real examples. So I manage Showpad in our organization for 120 users. That 1 to 120 relationship can't work. There is no way I can effectively handle that many queries from that many people. And we're a fairly small user. Some of you guys are much bigger than we are. So we introduced a concept called Showpad Champions, where for every sales team within our organization, we identified someone very early on in the training phase who got it. You always have them in your team, someone who can see the value, someone who is technologically advanced and can use it really well, and someone who comes to you with innovative ideas. These are our Showpad champions. They feel great about themselves. We got some goodies for them. You know, salespeople just love any sort of reward, so we gave them reward. Recognition was a massive part for these guys. And they work with me on that two-way communication piece that we talked about earlier with partnership. And these are some of the outputs we get from that. We identify best practice really early. Their job is to sit in a team meeting, they have them once a week, and identify what's good looks like, what's working, why do customers react well to what this guy does, and how can we replicate it. So we draw that in. They are advocates. The eliminate doubt piece at the top actually resonated really well for me after putting this presentation together for you guys. We rolled out the Outlook integration last week, and I set it up. It was very easy, may I say, quick and easy to do, and it worked. But then I gave it to my champions. I said, guys, we're rolling this out. I want you to take it on first. I want you to have first look at it. Tell me what you think. How easy is this going to be for me to tell 100 other people to download and update and start using it? So they came back to me with some of the little glitches that I wasn't aware of, some top tips, and in general, they were absolutely behind it. They backed it and they loved it. So they were my advocates, and when I rolled it out through them. So it was coming from them with their blessing, and it went to the Salesforce, and we've now rolled out the Outlook integration, and it's working great. And sharing the workload, as I say, I mentioned it earlier, I can't do it all on my own, and these guys are in my team, my virtual team, and they run Showpad with me across the UK. And that really works because we get real-life stories of how it helps them win deals, get bigger prospects, and open up new conversations. Next up, this is an interesting one, is gamification. So we have tapped into the competitive nature of our sales organization. They all want to be the best. They all want to win. That's why they're in that job. So what we launched, and you'll see how it affected our adoption a little later, is a very simple concept, a demo tournament. We wanted to see how people were using Showpad for real. Obviously, our sales managers were observing and coaching and developing in the field. But from a central point of view, we wanted to understand, what are you doing differently? How are you using the content in a way that we haven't seen before? Are you better at tablet demonstrations than anybody else on your sales force? So we tapped into the competitive nature and launched a demo tournament. Very simple. It's not difficult. We had team heats. Everybody in the team had to conduct a demo. And if you won your team heat, you went through to a district heat. And there are 4 or 5 people representing each district. They went up against each other. And next month, we'll be running our finals, where we'll have just 4 people from our sales organization competing in front of our executive, and some guys from Showpad are kindly coming along to judge our winner. We're going to video them and play them back to salespeople so they can see what the good guys are doing, how they can change the way they sell. And we're buying an iPad Pro for the winner. So there's a nice big carrot at the end for someone to win. The video clip you see at the bottom, I'm not going to play it, but we start to tap into the creative nature and the competitive nature of our salespeople. The guy on screen there on the left was on holiday when his team conducted their trials, so he didn't get to have a go. and we nominated a winner from his team. He was so put out by that he went home and filmed a home video. There are his 3 daughters. His wife was filming, and he conducted a demonstration at home in his home office of how he uses Showpad, and the 3 daughters were his customers. It was really cute. It was really cool, and it just taps into their mind. It gets them to think very differently, so it worked for us. Marketing led it, but as you can see at the bottom, we very much handed over to the sales leadership team to drive this forward, and again, it rolls all the way up. The district directors all want to have their representative winning the tournament. And you'll see a little bit later how that helped us with our user access and our adoption. Now, the last piece, one of the most important, but not the most important, is keeping it fresh. So I said we've been live since February, but overall since June last year. So as you can imagine, when we first launched Showpad, you can see it on screen, the adoption was great. Everybody loved it. We kicked it off, and our user rates were super high. Then, after the getting to use it, finding where everything is, that takes people a bit of time, right? Our user adoption started to drop. I wasn't worried, because I was expecting that, and the guys from Showpad were telling me, don't worry, when you launch it, it'll go crazy, and then it'll calm down a bit. You have to expect that. It was starting to calm down a bit too much for my liking. I was starting to get worried that that decline was fast. So we introduced a demo tournament then. So you can see, as soon as we said to people, you all have to demonstrate how you use Showpad in front of your peers in your team meetings, it's surprising how quickly they went away at home and started practicing. And practice makes perfect. Maybe that built confidence to go and do that in front of a customer, which is kind of the ideal environment. So that gave us an uptick. And we also launched something called the demonstration pathway, which I'll show you in a minute, which was an easy way for our sales guys to demo some of our more complicated products. And then it bobbed around for a little bit, as you can see, over the last few months, which is fine. And as it started to dip again, we had some new products to launch. And as our organization is evolving and growing, we're launching products at a rate that we've never done before. So our invoice manager solution, I suggest you all look it up, is a fantastic way of automating accounts payable and archiving them digitally. So that worked. So as you can see, we're floating at around 2,000 or 3,000 sessions a month, a week, sorry, and that works. That really works for us. We're happy with that rate at the moment. So step 7 of my 7 habits is important. Default by choice. Showpad needs to be that good and that cool that people want to use it. You can't force people to pick an iPad up or a tablet or their laptop and use Showpad in a customer-facing environment if they're not comfortable with it or it's not good enough. Absolutely, I'm a firm believer that default by choice, not default by force, could be one of the biggest lessons you take away. You can't force these guys to sell the way you want them to. They need to want to because it's that good. And that's how we're working. So the results look a little bit like this. 100% there or thereabouts, maybe dip to 99% every now and again, but user adoption is right up there, so it's working. We track something in our organization called sales participation. If we hit all our budget numbers in our nice, cool software products, that's obviously great. But if only 1 or 2 people are doing it, we're not changing behavior. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a step change in behavior to sell in a new way, in a new environment, new solutions. So we've seen our sales participation rate increase, the number of people that are selling these new products. Outbound communication software, you heard in the introduction earlier, is the way you communicate with your customers physically and digitally. And we've got a number of different tools that help organizations do that quickly and easily. That's on the growth. 33% increase in people selling that software since we launched Showpad. Inbound communications, any emails, letters coming into your organization day in, day out that need to get distributed around an organization, we can do that physically and digitally. 37% increase in sales participation. So you see the little pink indicates there's more people selling this stuff. The demo pathway at the bottom really works. Picture yourself as a sales guy and you want to sell a complicated, complex, process-changing software package. You'd go and see the customer, and along the top line, you'd discuss the concept, you'd start to get buy-in, then you'd wait maybe for a second appointment. We'd bring in an expert, a technical, maybe a pre-sales person to talk about it in more detail, and then you'd wait for a third meeting where you go and maybe physically demonstrate the software and show them in a live environment. That was what we used to operate. In around a 3 to 4 week window, that opportunity would start to grow. What we do now with our demonstration pathway on Showpad is all those 3 stages can happen in the same meeting in around 20 minutes, drastically reducing the selling cycle for our sales guys selling a complicated product. And I won't go into too much detail, but very simply, that's all it is. It's a folder at the moment in one of our channels with 3 different tools, 3 different bits of content. One is an intro video, 2-3 minutes. You can get it on a website. It's very customer-facing. It's slick and gives an overview. The second stage is a bit longer, so the customer needs to be a bit more interested. It's an explainer in a bit more detail around what the value they can get from that product, 6-7 minutes long. And step 3 is a virtual demo. So we actually converted somebody live, moving through the tool, logging in, importing files, deciding whether the communication was physical or digital, and made that a touch-by-touch video on Showpad for the sales guys to simulate a virtual demonstration. 20 minutes versus 3 to 4 weeks. And I'll close up just quickly with what some of our people are saying about Showpad. These are some of our top guys and girls in our organization right now, and they love it. And what we can see is that when the good people who are already delivering can see that Showpad is delivering a step change in their performance, then we know it's working. It gives credibility, professionalism, and they absolutely love what we do. So, that's me. There are 7 habits. I don't expect you to take all 7. Even if one of them is something you're not doing and you can go away with, then I'm really happy to have shared it with you. So thank you very much.